People of the book, that refers to Christians, people of the book, go not beyond the bounds in your religion and say not as to God but the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was only the messenger of God. Period. Then he says this. Now this is the writings of Muhammad. They say, God has taken him a son. You have no authority for this. What do you say concerning God that you know not? Those who forge against God falsehood will not prosper. We shall let them taste the terrible chastisement, for they were unbelievers. The third thing out of the Quran I want you to see, and they say, the All-Merciful has taken unto himself a son. You have indeed advanced something hideous. You can see the Antichrist spirit behind this book, the Quran. And these are not, this is just not 3 verses out of the Quran. What I read was just 3 out of the Quran. But this Quran, I have one if you want to borrow it, and I've highlighted all these things all the way through the Quran. There's all these references that are Antichrist, 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 Antichrist. These people are serious, and when this Mahdi comes and unites them together, they will behead the Christians that would be around at that time in that day. Well, how does the false prophet fit in then? Revelation chapter 13, verse 11 says, And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, spoke as a dragon. He exercises all the power of the first beast before him, causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Remember the deadly wound? He doeth great wonders, so that he make fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. You know, that's a miracle that Elijah did. He's duplicating the same miracles that the prophet Elijah was able to do. Remember, the Antichrist is going to slay Elijah. He deceives them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles. We're not to look for miracles. We're to look at the Word of God. Miracles can deceive us. He will deceive the general populace in those days because he will do miracles. Paul says that the Antichrist will do a display of powers of delusion that, if it were possible, would deceive even the elect. The great power that this one will have will be all equal to all the power of Satan. We read that before, right in Revelation chapter 13. We read, He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should speak, and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now the image of the beast will speak, and as many will not worship the beast shall be killed. And we know that he also, if we read further, that he gives a mark, the 666. Now we went through all that foundation to point out that I believe that we have had, since the rising of the Papacy, we have had this false prophet coming into existence and gaining power. And don't be fooled, we are not talking about just the Catholic Church. We're talking about the Catholic Church, the Worldwide Council of Church. We're talking about a Jesuit order that was formed, the Illuminati, the Masonic Lodge. It's worldwide. The New Age movement, these things are all going to be connected because Antichrist is going to demand one thing. Remember, if you were here, what I told you, when Constantine took over the Roman Empire, what he did is he divided it, set himself as emperor, and set a prophet over all of the religion of the Roman Empire. There will be one person that the Antichrist is going to deal with on religious matters. It has to be someone highly respected by all religions, and the only one that really fits that bill is the Pope. Now, the only problem that the Muslims have with the Pope is that he believes that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. If a Pope would come that rejected the divinity of Jesus Christ, Muslims would embrace him. Why would they do that? Well, that's the great mystery. And that mystery all ties to this woman. Now, we're not picking on Mary here, but at the same time, Muhammad began to have his visions. The same time, Pope Gregory the Great, who was between 590 and 604, he issued a formal declaration assuming complete jurisdiction over the Western world. In other words, what that means is that he made the Pope the emperor over the western part of the empire, not only the religious prophets. Then he merged together the office of the Christian bishop and emperor into one. Well, that's really the same thing. And then he promoted the worship of saints, images, and especially the Virgin Mary was encouraged. You say, how did all this ever get into Christianity? Anybody know about the Catholicism and the... You know, Catholicism in this country is not like Catholicism in other countries. In other countries, there is a lot more relic and image worship, and most of it is geared right looking at Mary. In this country, there's a lot of Jesus in it, but all the rest over the world, it is Mary, 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 Mary. And all this happened, and it began at the same time Muhammad began having his visions. Now, there was something very interesting. Now, we talked about a world-changing event that happened. I think we mentioned it in the previous time we met, in the time before that. In 1914, the World War I changed the face of everything. Then we got into World War II. At the same exact time, in 1917, something tremendous, earth-shattering happened. There was an apparition in Portugal they call Our Lady of Fatima. Have anybody heard that? Our Lady of Fatima, who was Muhammad's favored, beloved daughter. Fatima, or Portugal consisted at the time, it was 50% Catholic and 50% Islam. They all saw this apparition. 70,000 people at the time saw an apparition. It was the third apparition. The first one happened in 1917. I think it was a year later there was another one. These were just angels. But then Mary started appearing to these children, 3 children. She did so successfully like 6 months in a row. And then the final grand finale, 70,000 people saw an apparition. And they call it the greatest apparition in the Catholic faith. The Catholic Church regards her as Mary. She's called Our Lady of Fatima because that was the town. It was named after the daughter of Muhammad, who's the mother of this, the lineage of this Mahdi, or Messiah of the Islam faith who will come. You see how that's all connected? At the time of Fatima, 3 children were given a secret, supposedly by this apparition of Mary. The secret was given to the popes and the successive popes. Only the popes are aware of what she said. Muhammad, in his day, told his daughter Fatima, according to the Muslim faith, that she would be given a secret for the end of days, and she would bring forth a secret regarding the end of days at the end of time. The Muslims worship Mary. The Quran says that Mary was born. She was a virgin. She gave birth as a virgin. She gave birth to the prophet Jesus. She was the most holiest, highest woman ever that reigned on the earth. They also claim that and agree that she ascended into heaven, and they even, I've heard, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I've heard that they even accept that she herself was conceived without sin. Mary has the highest place in the Muslim religion aside from Muhammad. Is that tremendous or what? Here in the last days, World War I happens, and right after World War I comes this apparition who claims to be Mary, happens in the town of Fatima, and brings forth a secret for the end. It doesn't end there. Let me read. Now this, by the way, this apparition of Mary keeps happening all over the world. Now we read that the false prophet would arise. If that's the false prophet, the Pope would arise. It says that he had the power to have the image speak. What is this apparition that is happening all over the world if it is not an image speaking. This image is speaking, and it is speaking predominantly in Muslim communities. When the Muslim people experienced it, I think it was 100,000 people in Egypt, when it appeared in Egypt, it's sitting on this church building, 100,000 people saw it. There are Muslims throughout the world that are worshiping Mary. Catholics throughout the world worship Mary. There's a lot of work trying to be done by the Catholic Church to unite all the churches together. The only thing that stands in the way of a unification, again, is that the Pope, the present-day Pope, accepts that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. But Catholic prophecy, not biblical prophecy, but in the Catholic Church itself, people have rose up for centuries saying that the Antichrist will come and will rise out of Rome and will deny the divinity of Jesus Christ. He will be a defective pope. And even today, many people in the Catholic Church say that it will be a defective pope. Well, if this does happen, that's all that it would take to unite the Islam world, which is, by the way, 1.2 billion people. It's just about equal to the amount of people in the Christian faith, Catholic Christian faith. And you also have the Hindu, which is probably the third largest, which they also worship mother and child. In fact, most religions worship images of a mother and child. You go into the Catholic Church, you see an image of a mother and child. It is not a small or a big task if the Pope would come and deny the divinity of Christ to be embraced by the world. And this Queen of Heaven, who is appearing as an image and speaking all over the earth, witnessed by hundreds of thousands of people, it is not hard to believe that this thing can happen in just a few years from now. Let me read, and then we'll finish. Just want to read what Mary is saying. On October 13, 1917, which is what I told you, 70,000 people witnessed the apparition from heaven regarding it, a sign from God that all of the children had told was absolutely true. Since that time, there has been a large number of such apparitions of the Virgin, and this is what she has commanded. Now, these are Mary's words. These apparition is speaking, and this is what she's saying all over the world. Until I am acknowledged there where the most holy Trinity has willed me to be, I will not be able to exercise my full power in the material work of co-redemption and of the universal mediation of graces. Sons, let yourselves be transformed by my powerful action as mother, mediatrix of graces, and co-redemptrix. Mary has promised world peace and complete demonstration of her power if the world acknowledges her as their Redeemer, mediator, and